Hey, this is Adam Torres, and I'm here to tell you that it has never been easier to start your very own podcast. At Mission Matters, our goal is to amplify stories that matter. That means we want to help you start your podcast because your story matters. We can do this in 3 different ways. 1, join our podcast school and take a free or paid course. 2, visit our resources page where we've already figured out what you need, such as where to host your podcast. Or 3, heck, we can even do everything for you through our podcast agency, including editing for cheaper than you can do in-house. Oh, and no contract, service is month to month. Get started by heading over to missionmatters.com and click on Start a Podcast. All right, now let's get into the show.
Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Business Podcast, your source for all things business. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, touring, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, today I have Carol Stratton on the line, and she's a novelist and children's writer, and she's also author of the upcoming book, The Littlest Bell Ringer. Carol, welcome to the show.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here today, Adam.
All right, Carol, so we have a good topic today. So how to get published through a traditional publisher. I know you've done that, and you're also in the middle of publishing your first self-published book. So let's just say you've covered the gambit when it comes to writing and otherwise. So I want to get into this topic with you. But before we do, let's go a little bit further into your background. So how did you get started in your career really in writing?
Well, actually, I started very young in 6th grade. We had a newspaper that published a little essay that I had written. Looking back, it was pretty lame, but that was my big thrill to see my name in print. But really, my first big article was right after 9/11. I had been playing around with becoming an author, and I was so upset about what happened with the Twin Towers and everything, and I felt like I needed to express what I had to say. So I ended up getting my first real thing published in our little local newspaper, the Zionsville Sentinel, and that was really exciting, and that got me thinking, yeah, I guess I can get published. So I had that little boost to give me a little confidence. So from there, I started going to writers' conferences, and I started working on being a freelance writer, and I totally recommend starting out just writing articles, learn how to write nonfiction, learn how to get on deadlines, and build up what they call in the business your clips, which means things that you've been published. Because very often you go to a conference and you meet with a publisher and they'll say, well, what have you published, besides of this book you want to have published? So you show them, oh, this magazine, this newspaper published me. So you want to build that up. That gives you confidence. It teaches you how to write clearly and concisely. And so I did that for several years, then being a newspaper reporter for 2.5 years. And that's a whole nother trip. You learn all about different people and their stories. I love doing that in the local community. And finally, because I've moved so much, my first book was Changing Zip Codes, which is a devotional, kind of a daily little thing to read with a little bit of a Bible verse in my story. And a lot of them were funny because there are funny things that happen when you move. Excuse me. But I got that published first, and then I thought, aha, now I'll pitch my novel that I had, which is called Lake Surrender, and it was about a single mom who moves from California to northern Michigan with her 2 kids, one being autistic. She's lost her divorce, or she's had a divorce, she's lost her house and her marriage, and she starts all over. And the only job she could have was a job at a camp as a cook, and she didn't know how to cook. So there's a lot of humor in that.
Yeah.
She learned the hard way. And so she's gone from being a big shot editor at a children's book company to being a very humble cook at a camp. So I use a lot of my background I think I did. Well, I know I worked a lot in camps growing up. I love camps. I love the whole summer camp scene, and I also have a degree in rec therapy, and I worked a lot with disabled kids. So for a couple of years, I worked in the school district where we lived, and I worked in an AI classroom, which is an autistically impaired classroom with severely autistic children who are very, far on the scale. And I learned a lot. It just really was. I think I had a passion for talking to people about what parents go through and how hard it is, but how intriguing these kids are in a certain sort of a way. But one of the things I want to really stress is to not give up. One of the biggest things you have to overcome as a writer, you don't have someone next to you saying, girl, keep going. You have to say that to yourself. And you have to have what they call rhino skin, which means you're able to take a lot of rejections. My very first novel I wrote was a kid's novel, and I have 33 rejections from traditional publishers. And I look sometimes, I think, why didn't I give up? That's a lot of rejections, but
no, I get it, and that's and I think that's also a great transition. So let's go further into today's topic. So I think that's a great start for us. So how to get published through a traditional publisher. So you already set the stage, right? Rejected 33 times. I mean, where does the story go there from there?
Well, I should have maybe thought get another hobby, but I'm a very determined person.
That's the first thing I'm gonna take notes from you. Be determined.
Be determined. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say is not everybody wants to write a book or write an article. That sounds like a lot of work to most people. So if you have that in you, I believe God put that in you as an ability or a talent, and you need to work on it and develop it and not give up. And just realize a lot of people have failed. Of course, The Help. Are you familiar with the novel The Help? They made a movie out of it. But she was rejected 60 times and was redoing her manuscript as she was going into labor for her first child. So, I mean, there's some really determined people out there. So believe in yourself, believe in what your talents are, and just keep pushing forward. And find your right niche, Maybe writing a novel isn't for you. Mm-hmm.
Well, and so, Carol, let's go into a little bit of the technical side. So how you get over that hump. So we know you have to be determined. You know you have to find your niche. Like you have to have a product, right? So let's talk about. So now, what's that next step? Like somebody says, okay, so I have this pile of paper in front of me. Like, what do I do next? Like, talk about that submission process and how that worked out.
Yes, very often the only place you can submit if you're a newbie and do not have a agent, is to go to writers' conferences. Plus, you learn how to write there. You take a lot of classes. So I highly recommend doing that. Just really working on the craft.
So like the big ones, I think there's New York, LA, like any ones that you suggest? How'd you kind of
I would start small. It's kind of scary to go to some of these big ones. I'd start with a local one and just, test it out. Maybe you'll make some friends there who are in the same boat. Well, I've found writers can be very supportive of each other, so get a support system.
That's good. And then so conferences, I think conferences are a big deal. Like I
yes, they
are.
That.
So conferences work. And so let's say you go to the conferences and now you make a couple of contacts. Like what's the next step?
Well, if they want to see your manuscript, if it's nonfiction, you can usually send 2 or 3 chapters. If it's fiction, they want to know you have finished the story. They're not going to wait around. So you will hopefully send that finished manuscript to them, and they will maybe take 6 months and look at it and then say yes or no. But before you do that, I would suggest having a paid editor, professional editor, go over it, because they will find things that you never saw. Even the best writers have paid professional editors to look it over.
And editors have other editors do it because you're too close to the work. Like, and
yes,
there's a different
exactly.
copy editor. There's a different copy editor versus the regular editor that's going to look at context and like positioning and story flow. Like, so there's a process there. And I people that all the time. I'm like, you could do it yourself. You can just do it, but like, there's a process there. And even I don't care who you are, Malcolm Gladwell, whatever your writer is, whatever. Like, they have editors that have to edit their work because they have teams of editors and things that do it. The higher up and the bigger you get. So like at the least, you should be having, at the least, if you can't afford an editor, you need to have friends proofread it. Like something. You need another set of eyes on it. It can't just be your eyes. Like if you have a friend that's a lawyer that looks at legal documents all day, hey, you better take them to lunch. Hey, do you want to read my new manual? Like, do what you can do. Like, you have that one person you went to college with that is always the smarty pants. Like, get them to read it. Like, do something. I just want your feedback on it. That's all. Like, because the thing is there's a lot of intelligent people that may not be in the field, but they may be your friends. That something is better than nothing, but you need another set of eyes. That's what I always say.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree. And then the other thing is get beta readers, just people who love to read your subject. And they will give you feedback on the story. Hey, you forgot about this or that. They don't have to, edit it. Just tell, is the story working? I
love it. So Carol, I could talk to you about this all day long, but I want to end it on another note though. So I want people to understand a little bit more about how they can get your newest work when it comes out, The Littlest Bell Ringer. How can they find your previous works, and how do they connect with you overall?
Yes, my first two books are on Amazon, and The Littlest Bell Ringer will also be on Amazon probably mid-October. It's a middle grade novel for 4th through 6th graders, but I think parents will enjoy it too. And I have a Facebook for my author page, Carol Grace Stratton, or you can connect with me on Twitter at Carol G. Stratton. And I also have a website, caroljstratton.com, where I do blogging when I have time.
Fantastic. Well, Carol, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about your background and, of course, all of your the new work, The Littlest Bell Ringer, that's coming out, of course, and then all your other work. So thank you for that, and also telling us a little bit more about your journey and how you went to get published. So I think this is a great you're an inspiration for many people out there that are going to listen to this and also want to be published. So appreciate you sharing that story. And to our audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, absolutely. If you did, don't forget, subscribe to the podcast. Leave us a review on the Apple iTunes Store. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Business, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments on the video and let us know what kind of projects, or if you got anything you're writing, let us know there. And Carol, really appreciate it. Thanks again for coming on the show.
I appreciate you. Have a great day.